And to those of you who braved the wind and the cold and to come out to the control center on Kalwula, thanks very much. You've got a good insight into what a control center is all about. Also, to Cullum, Annie, Will, and Jeff, please keep doing what you're doing because that connectivity is absolutely critical to what we do. What we are absolutely in the game of, and this is a real commitment, our mission is to provide advanced decision support to farmers. Pure and simple. We don't make many sensors. We've got some fancy cameras in some of our divisions. We are here to connect these sensors and use our core strength, which is around data and really using that to build analytics for you. So the aspiration, I mean, is it all about having this incredible connection? Really? It is happening. But what is practical? And before I go too much further, on Wednesday I gave a presentation at our Social Innovation Forum in Sydney, and I quoted this following saying, which I think is very powerful. If you can't measure what's important, you measure what becomes important. And as we collect the data to make the right decision, provide you with the right data to make the right decisions, we must never forget this point. It is critical. And water is critical, absolutely. But then beyond that, it's going to be getting information from weather, getting information from markets in order for you to make that right call. You have told us that eyeballing an animal in the paddock, you can be out so far from the optimum. So getting that right data to you. And that data has to support you in those operational decisions. So the team members out there who are making that critical decision at the crush, they make a huge difference. The right decision, they put the right animal in the right classification, it leads to optimizing your whole business. That data also has to provide the technical decision making for you. You make those decisions. When do I move those animals? What is the optimal? Do I go to another paddock? How do I optimize the pasture growth? That data and the decision support has to support those tactical decisions. You have to be provided with it in an easy-to-interpret manner. And of course, strategic decisions. Is now the time to buy more animals? Is now the time that I have to move those animals 1,000 kilometers away to where they can get feed? And if you make the right decision, it obviously has a massive impact on your business. And ultimately, it's about the entire value chain. Whether you are breeding, backgrounding, whether you're in the feedlot, whether you're in processing, whether you're taking it further into the market, that entire value chain needs to be connected. And there's this growing pull from consumers to know, where did that come from? What's the provenance? What's the safety? What's the security? All those aspects that the animal welfare, there's a growing pull for that, and you're going to have to provide it as we move forward. The speakers before me and those in the last couple of days have stressed the importance of connectivity, and it is absolutely crucial. It is so encouraging that there are many, many inroads. Those connections are being made. Those kids are now getting access, and most importantly, the data is now being shared, and that just has to grow. We know that. Right the way through that value chain. And when we look at your actual individual farm operations, looking at each paddock, and you're going through an incredibly difficult time right now. Decisions you make now are going to impact your business in the coming months and coming years. How you look after those animals, how you look after those pastures, and you've got some really tough decisions to make. What data do you need to make a better decision? And how do we make this really, really practical? We had the fancy control center out there with the fancy touch screen, but making it practical, making it something that the farm manager, the farm hand uses, that's our aim. Darren's got one of these in his office, and we've connected quite a few of the systems, and we'll continue to connect those systems so they come together so that richer and richer data and richer decisions can be made from that data. This is an operation out of Calliope. The same is happening at Croydon. The same is happening at Binjambar. More and more people are starting to pull the data together. And I want to stress a very, very important point. When I talk about bringing data together, it's about bringing your data together. I also want to make a point that in this entire operation that we've been running in Australia, all the data remains with the farmer. I want to say that again, all the data remains with the farmer. When we first started, our platform was not hosted in Australia. And it became very clear very quickly that even that had to change. So we changed it. The platform is hosted in Sydney with all the security that we use with our connections to stock exchanges and banks. Right? It is secure, and the data is yours. And when I talk about data sharing, I'm talking about sharing the water data from your property into a common place on your farm so that you can then correlate that with your animal data, your market data, etc. And once again, for those who weren't there, it was bitterly cold. The wind gusted to 40 kilometers an hour. We managed to get the drone up for a very short period of time. But the point here is, how do we get this adoption? How do we get that out into industry? And it's about forums like this, and this is incredible. I was at the forum a couple of years ago, and just to see the step change that has occurred is so encouraging. So I'd like to, if you want to see the control center, Michael can show you in the exhibition, and Darren's got it on the farm, and it's really available. But I'd rather like to focus the last few minutes on lessons learned. And one of the big lessons that we learned after Sean brought us, to Kawula and said, "Can you help integrate?" And we said, "Sure." And as the weeks went by, the number of suppliers increased, and it was every one of us looked at each other and said, "Okay, let's get going. Let's get our technical staff to start talking all about APIs and push and pull APIs and goodness knows what." But if I look out to those suppliers in the audience now and say, was it easy? It was not easy. It isn't easy. We're not talking about systems that are used in big business that has all been standardized. We're talking about a lot of systems where a lot of very clever people have put a good solution together, not necessarily thinking about sharing that data within the ecosystem of the business. And that's been a challenge. We've got there in some cases, we're getting there in others, and in others it'll be a further challenge. The other lesson, I think, and that's to everyone who plays in this space, and ourselves absolutely included, is you've got to build your solution with the intent that you're going to share data with permission. And I get back, I don't want anyone to leave this forum thinking someone's going to be looking at some external party. It's with permission of the farmer that you bring the data together for the farmer's use. A lot of these systems have been built that they just closed. You have a great solution, you can see it on the app, but none of you want to open 20 websites every morning, even if you've got your fancy new high connection. You've got better things to do. Bring the data together. A lesson that we learned, and it's actually a philosophy now, right from the very top of Hitachi, is build your solutions with open source software. It's the new way of doing things. There's incredible solutions out there. You can build up very, very quickly. And what I say to customers is, we'll put up this control center for you. If you don't like it, your data is stored in Hadoop and Cassandra and open source software systems. You can take it out. It doesn't bother us. Well, it does bother us because we've done something wrong, but I think that's a philosophy we adopt, and I strongly encourage others. Use open source software. It'll make your lives far easier. Another lesson, and I think that's to many of the smaller producers, is collaborate or be disrupted. I've seen so many amazing solutions. The reason we have no interest in developing our own sensors is there's so much out there. You've got amazing solutions, but if you don't collaborate, I think you're going to fall into that line that eventually someone's going to say, my iPhone's getting a bit full of apps. So collaborate, and I think everyone's going to win. And a great lesson for us, and I really thank MLA for this, is that I'm not a farmer, I'm an engineer. I've spent many, many weeks and months just sitting in the Land Cruiser listening to farmers. And my team have done exactly the same. You know, we've dug the holes for the soil moisture sensors. We've done those sort of areas. And that's the way you learn. And that's the way you keep learning, because your needs are going to keep changing. When I listen to Cullum's developments on the property, it's amazing. But your needs are going to keep changing. You're going to get more and more sophisticated. So we never must stop listening. And that's both, you know, ourselves as service providers to you, but I think right throughout this ecosystem. And if we can get all this right, I truly believe we can achieve that goal of having advanced decision support for the farmers of Australia. And really, what do I mean by that? I'll give you a quick example. It was about 5 weeks ago, went on to Darren's property and came up with the idea that we'll fly one of the really small drones. So that was the only one that flew in the end because of the strong wind. And use that to start imaging the grass in order to identify grass and then enhance the biomass solutions that we have. And in a very short period of time, we've been able to build an algorithm that identifies at this point 10 different grass species. And just think of that now. With this little very, very inexpensive unit that connects up into the control center, on a quarterly basis, you can go to a paddock with this little drone, just let it do its thing. It images the grass, it works out the biomass, it determines the species, it builds up a history, and then combines that into a much bigger picture for you. And Darren and I have been speaking about, you know, the next 3 and 6 and 9 months and 12 months, how we're going to take the data that's been collected from all the systems and continually build, with Darren's support and yours, those of you who are solution providers to the farm, more and more of these decision support models. And I stress again, for Kawula, or for yourselves. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And please come and chat to us at the stand or after the event. Thanks very much.